Now, today we have discussed what is the linear system. It is the linear algebra chapter, linear system. Linear system, the name of the linear system is given by linear equations and linear unknown systems. Okay, if we have n equations in n unknowns, then it forms a system. If it has n equations in n unknowns, then it forms a system. It forms a system which is in linear equations, right? These are the equation are in linear, so it is called linear system. These all equations forms in n unknowns a linear system. Now, what is the linear equations? Let us two equations. This one is x1 minus 2x2 is equals to minus 1 and minus x1 plus 2x2 is equals to 3, right? First has two unknowns. How? X1 and x2. These are two unknowns, right? And there exist 1 in product, 1 and minus 2. These are coefficient terms, right? So how do it finds a linear system? Because this equation and this equation, these are both different equation, right? It is plus 1, it is minus 1. These are both different equation, and the both equation in two unknowns, then and these are linear equations, so this form linear system, right? Now it is also linear system. How? X1 minus 2x2 is equals to minus 1 minus x1 plus 2x2 is equals to 1. These are the linear equation in and two unknowns, and it form a linear system, right? How do you know that? What is the solution of this equation? These are the linear equation. Linear equation means first one is L1. This is, let it is this equation, right? Representation of this equation is L1, and the second one is L2. When we solve this gives you same parallel equation, right? Now for what? For this second equation, this second linear system, it is called, first equation is, after solving first equation and second equation, this gives overlaps on both, overlaps each other, right? How to overlaps each other? After solving this, right? Because when you take, there exist minus 1. When you take minus 1, it is minus of x1 plus x2 x2 is equals to plus 1, right? So both become same. There exists only difference of scalar minus 1, so both are overlapping each other, right? Now this linear system has no solution. How do you say that? Because of there is no cut point between both of the lines, right? So there exists no solution. It look like by the linear system equations, and in this there exist many of the solution because they are overlapping each other, right? So we have introduced that first equation system, linear system, has no solution. Second, linear system has infinitely many solution. Now why we find out linear systems have solution? Because we know that x1 and x2 we have unknowns, and we want to find out what is x1 and what is x2, right? For these type of things, when we have to find out by linear equation, so uh, this type of work we have to done, right? Now a system of linear equation. Now, what type of solutions exist? A system of linear equation has either no solution, exactly one solution, and infinitely many solution, right? What we say have, they can, firstly, there exists no solution, right? Because they are parallel to each other, they have no cut point, so it has no solution. If they are overlapping each other, then infinitely many solution, right? And what, when exactly one solution, they have cut, when we have two linear equation and they have cut to each other at a point, then it is said to be, it is a unique solution, right? So it is like x1 and x2, it is unique, so it is exactly one solution. So what we say, we have said linear system, if it has no solution, if a linear system has no solution, then these linear system are called inconsistent system. If exactly one solution and infinitely many solutions, then these solution system is called consistent system. Okay. Now, how to write it linear equation in matrix notation? Firstly, we have taken this linear equation, second is this, and third is this, right? Now, how to write it in a matrix space? Because it is very toughest way to solve the linear equations to solve x1 x2 x3 for x1 x2 x3, and then you have to find out what is x1 and what is x2 and what is x3, right? So we have a representation in matrix form, which is A is equals to, the coefficient of this is 1, coefficient of this is -2, a coefficient of this is 1, the coefficient of this is 0. First term is 0, so it taken 0. Second term is 2 and third term is -8. -4 is the coefficient term and fifth is the x2 coefficient term and 9 is the coefficient term of x3. Because of these are the coefficient, so this matrix is called coefficient matrix, right? Now, what is the augmented matrix system? Because when we take the 0, 8 and -9, these are the solution systems, right? So this is called B1, B2, B3. So when we take coefficient matrix with B1, B2, B3, so this matrix is called augmented matrix. What is called? This matrix of system is called augmented matrix of the system. 1, -2, 1, 0, 0, 2, -8, 8, -4, 5, 9, -10, right? Now, an M cross N matrix is a rectangular array of numbers with M is equals to 3 rows and N is equals to 4 columns. Now, what is the number of rows in this? First row, second row, third row. So, the number of rows represented in this. Where is represented in this? Number of rows is 3 and number of columns is 4. How it is? 1, 2, 3, 4. Number of columns is 4. So n is equals to 4 defined as number of column, and always written number of rows in first and then number of columns, right? In this matrix, the number of rows is 3 and number of columns is also 3. So this is written as M cross N, which is 3 cross 3, where M represents rows of number of rows and N represent number of columns in the matrix.